Hello everyone, my name is Danielle and welcome to my channel. Today's card project, I'm going to be using a stencil ink blending technique. And I use this lovely sentiment by Rubber Necker Stamps. Um, Part of the inspiration for this card is based on a hop that I am participating in. And while I'm not using my channel, my YouTube channel to participate in the hop, I will leave the hashtag as well as a link to my blog post with all of the details. If you use that hashtag on YouTube, you should be able to see all of the other crafters and their projects. So be sure to check that out. So I think we've gone through a couple of products that I'm using. Again, I'm using Rubbernecker stamp for the stamp sentiment. Um, I am using my ink blender brushes for the distress inks. I think I've shown you or about to show you all of the distress inks I'm using, the names of them. All those details will be in my blog post, and I'll leave that link in the description below. Here I'm showing you all of the inks that I'm using. The three the three main colors that I'm using are on the top there, the antique linen, I think that's vintage photo and espresso. And then the bottom two inks were for the sentiment and the splatter that I'm going to do later on. So I start with my top panel here, and at this point, it's a little, I think it is 4 1/4 and 5 1/2, but I'm going to trim that down a little bit. And my card base, by the way, is an A2 size, standard A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Yeah. I'm using the 6x6 stencil from Jamie. I think it's Designs by Jamie. It's a brick pattern. And I start with my first ink, antique linen. And what I'm going to do is saturate my paper. So the technique as far as using the stencil to ink blend using my blender brushes, I'm going to continue to repeat this pattern. And so I apply the ink with a somewhat light hand, and in order to build up the color and get the vibrancy of those colors, I just apply ink. I repeat the application. So it takes a little bit of patience, especially using distress inks, but the results are pretty good. I'm not sure there's too much more detail as far as how to ink blend. You'll see me go through all of the colors here, and I overlap them. And then I just could continue to repeat the process, build the ink, um, and just go back and forth between colors until I reach a result that I'm happy with. So I'll let you take a look. I'll speed up the process a little bit for you, and then I'll join you in a few. Okay. So I'm back, and here are the results of my ink blending. Um, I think it came out pretty good. I'm really sticking to the overall design of the card based on the card I'm casing. And again, if you look at my description below, I'll have the link so you can see the original project and then my version of that. I trimmed down the card to leave about a quarter of an inch border on all sides. And now I want to apply ink splatter. Originally I was going to just use a brush, uh, activate the ink with a little bit of water and use the brush to pick up that ink and then splatter it on the page. So that was my original thought. Then I remembered that I had the Tim Holtz splatter brush, and so I opted to use that. One of my one observation I made in doing this ink splatter, I think that in the future I'm gonna just use a little bit more ink or maybe less water, um, because as you'll see in a couple of seconds there, I wanted more color. Like it looks more wet than color. It looks like water drops opposed to black drops. So I think that's one thing I'll change in the future. And in the end, I think I did a pretty good job replicating this design. Okay, moving on. So I think I just picked up my splatter brush, picked up a little bit of ink off of my acrylic block, and you'll see me do my splat. Um, I think I've done it a couple of times already. I'm just trying to fill the card and spread out where I want my splatter to be placed on the card. So following that, I just make sure I clean off my workspace so I won't um, pull any ink splatter into my other card pieces here. Uh, so using my card sentiment, I'm using the Memento ink Rich Cocoa, and I'll apply my ink to a scrap piece of paper, and eventually you'll see me, well, I think I take this off camera, but what I'm going to do is die cut using my square die. I die cut the sentiment, and then on a separate piece of cardstock, a brown cardstock, I use my stitch square die and cut out a piece there. What I want to do now is just apply a little bit of tape inside the card, and that's going to be temporary, and all that does is just allow me to keep that card, or allow me to apply my ink while the card stays flat so it won't flap up and down. um, I saw that technique used by other crafters, and I've been using it ever since I've seen that because it does work well. The card won't flip up. So I'm applying the distress ink around the perimeter of the card. Um, again, it's a light hand. I don't try to build up the volume or build up the vibrancy in the colors. I'm just applying enough just to complement the top layer of the card. Yeah, so what you'll see is just simple ink blending around the perimeter of the card, and nothing too complex there. So this hop I'm participating in, I'm not exactly sure how many participants there are, but the hashtag that I left in the description of this post, if you use that, and I think it should be Case the Creator. And if it's anything other than that, what I'll do is make sure that it's updated in that description. But you just follow that hashtag, and you'll be able to see all the other creators and the with the cards that they've replicated. And I believe most of them are cards. But we'll see. You have to just hop along and check them out. And the hop is either using your YouTube channel or your blog. I'm opting to use my blog. That's my go-to. It's comfortable for me, and I figure that I can get that content out pretty quickly or within the deadline time frame. The video, I wasn't so sure in the beginning because I'm still getting used to the editing and the filming and all of that. But it just so happens that I did finish the video in time, um, but I didn't want to cause too many complications. So I just hopped along using my blog and added a little bit of information um, in terms of the hashtag so you can follow along with YouTube. So I am now going to apply my top card panel to the base, to the card base. I think I've already adhered my sentiment to its border. Yeah, I use stamping dimensionals there. And so now I'm using my ATG gun to um, adhere that panel to the card base. And something pretty funny is going to happen. Well, I don't know if it's ha funny, but as I'm putting this card down, generally if I'm inspired by a card or if I'm casing a card, I try to make sure before I put that top layer down that first the card is in the right direction. So that's what I was doing there to make sure it was in the right direction. But after I secured this down, I took a look because I had my iPad next to me and I had Allison's card, or I had her post where she made the original card, the card that I'm replicating in this video. I looked at it and I noticed that um, that top layer is upside down. So she went from light to dark with the light on top, and when I hear this, I went from dark to light. It wasn't intentional, although I guess I could have just said that, but um, yeah. So this is what you're seeing here. I'm realizing, oh man, it's upside down, and there's nothing I can do really, but in that moment we think, oh, well, if we turn the card, or maybe we can do like the turning the card upside down is doing nothing. It's not going to change anything. Um, and it's kind of illogical because in my mind I thought, well, maybe I can. What was I really going to do? The card is upside down. It's adhered. There was nothing I could do. And the turning is not doing anything. So that's what made me laugh, because when I was looking at the video, I thought, what was I thinking? There was nothing I can do. But so I just went with it. I applied the sentiment. And then that's pretty much where I left it. I didn't add any other accents or any other embellishments because I think the card is pretty. It's pretty. um, I really like Allison's original design, and I would hope that you guys would check that out. So please look in the description. Navigate over to my blog post so you can see Allison's original design and then my attempt at replicating that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I'm showing you a few more pictures. There'll be more pictures on my blog post, so check that out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please visit again, and thanks for watching.